Okay. I saw it go live and I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and smile and be like, I know, I'm in a weird mood, right? Okay, before I don't know, I'm going to have to go back and like edit this or something. Uh, Okay, good morning. Welcome everybody to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Today we are just being goofy this morning for no really good apparent reason, but we are. But actually our topic for today is give without expectation and do good even when nobody's looking. Um, the reason we're talking about this is because we are discussing verse is it 24 of the Tao Te Ching as interpreted by Wayne Dyer from the book Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. Yep, it is verse 24. And this chapter is called Living Without Excess. And Sandy wrote an awesome post about giving without expectation and receiving and gratitude and what was the other, generosity. And anyway, so I'm gonna I don't know, I lost my train of thought. So today is going to be really casual. So okay, so guys, to go ahead and introduce yourselves. And oh, I know what I forgot to say is for those of you who are watching and want to kind of participate in the conversation, jump over to SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. Again, that's SaturdayMorningMastermind.com, and that will bring you over to the blog post page where we have this live broadcast, and you can scroll down and add your thoughts to the comments. So we'd love to hear what you have to say about this particular verse, the verse that we're studying, and what we're talking about here. So while you guys are doing that, I'm going to allow Sandy and Catherine to introduce themselves, and we'll just get this thing going and see where it goes.
Good morning, Sandy Root here in sunny Miami Beach, and I'm down for a totally silly, goofy hangout because I'm half asleep still too. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Good morning, this is Catherine Clement in sunny Boulder, Colorado, and yeah, I'm all for silly today. I may have to leave just a few minutes early because I have a class right after this one, so today's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it and looking forward to discussing this verse. You did a great job on the post, Sandy. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. You know, I've had some interesting things happen this week, and I think we all have weird things happen in our lives, right? And of course, this week's really been a kind of a reminder of how much our egos play into our lives and how much they affect us. And you know, I had an incident in our neighborhood this week with one of our neighbors, and it was really frustrating trying to communicate with this person that was unreasonable. And of course it brought out the unreasonableness in me too. But anyway, it helped me kind of really recognize some of the ego stuff in my own life that I still need to work on. And I think that this particular verse is, I don't know, let's go ahead and read the verse. I know I kind of started the conversation before reading the verse, but let's read the verse and then we can kind of go from there and talk about a little bit about the ego. I think is important, and then giving without expectation and generosity and gratitude and that kind of thing. Does that sound okay, guys? Okay, cool. Who wants to read it?
I'll read it. Catherine's face. 24th verse. If you stand on tiptoe, you cannot stand firmly. If you take long steps, you cannot walk far. Showing off does not reveal enlightenment. Boasting will not produce accomplishment. He who is self-righteous is not respected. He who brags will not endure. All these ways of acting are odious, distasteful. They are superfluous excesses. They are like a pain in the stomach, a tumor in the body. When walking the path of the Tao, this is the very stuff that must be uprooted, thrown out, and left behind.
So he talks about if you, if you can't, if you stand on tiptoe, you can't stand firmly, and it's suggesting that that our ego is what's kind of causing us to be on shady or shaky ground, if you will. And I think sometimes it's hard to realize where you have ego that's messing with you in your life, and where it is interfering with your best interests, and maybe even the best interests of other people in your life as well. And for me this week, I really had a big smack in the face of how much my ego aggravates things with me, and just because of things that I think that I know, and it's funny because okay, here's something on a slightly different note. I was watching the show Game of Thrones. I don't know if you guys watched that. But anyway, there's this part in there, and I don't remember which episode was it. I don't know if it was a recent episode, or I think it was actually. And this one guy was talking about how we tend to despise the things that we don't like. Like, we don't like the poor, and we don't like, or not that we don't like them, but when we see people who are poor and destitute and struggling, is that we have this kind of disdain for that, and it's because we see that, because he said it's because they are us, and we're seeing what we would be if all of our everything that we have is stripped away from us, right? So it kind of like shines a light on the deepest, darkest parts of our own selves, and we don't like that. We don't like it when something smacks us in the face and says, here's something that you need to be paying attention to to learn about yourself. And and I had this instance happen to me this week where we kind of had a dispute with the neighbor. It kept rolling around in my mind over and over and over. It kept repeating, and I kept, all this, I know better, and I know the way it should be, and and even when I talk about it to friends, it's still, God, oh, I'm so frustrated with this person, but yet at the same time, I'm recognizing that is my ego clashing with her ego. It's my knowledge of what I think is right clashing with what this woman represents as what I think is wrong, right? Or wrong with the world. And so it kind of really made me think about that, and think about how can I work on this, and how can I make changes in my own life to help myself overcome some of that turmoil, because that's what it does. It's like it's saying in this verse, that it puts you on kind of, it makes it shaky ground, or if you're on tiptoes, you're not stable, right? And so I was obviously feeling very unstable because of this situation, and it actually, kept going around in my head continuously for this whole week, and who knows how long it will keep messing with my mind, but anyway, I wanted to share that a little bit, just because, anytime that we get upset with someone else and we have a confrontation, it's not about, it's that our ego's getting in the way, right? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Oh my gosh, girl, I got this lesson so hard this week myself. Live on air. My ego clashed with this dude's, well, we don't know who it is, a dude or a woman, that like stepped into Sandy and my blab, and in my my ego felt like they were being very disrespectful, and I did well for a while, like trying to talk to this person in a reasonable way, and they just kept on and on and on, and finally I just kind of went completely Cali on them. Like, I think fire shot out of my eyes. I said quite a few things I probably shouldn't have said. In fact, I went back and edited the video because I was like, girl, your ego was all over that. But it's funny because it doesn't matter, how much self help, how many of these books you read, how many affirmations you say, how many masterminds you've been in, how much you meditate. I mean, I guess there are some people on the planet that are unruffable, is that a word? But for the majority of us who are human, uh, we lose it sometimes. Things, egos clash, and it's not, oh, look who made it on. It's not, I don't feel like don't blame yourself or feel like you're, oh, like I'm so far from enlightenment or whatever it is that you're trying to compare yourself to. Don't go down that road. As a matter of fact, I think it's, I laugh about it a lot because it's good. There's been many times in my life where I haven't stood up for myself. I haven't placed boundaries where there should have been and things like that. And so I kind of get tickled at myself when I get riled up because I don't get riled up that often. And it makes me feel good that I can even voice that, because that voice was squelched for so many years, So it's egos are going to clash, and thankfully for those of us that do work on these things and are trying to consciously sort of promote a more peaceful world, and so we have to start with ourselves. So it's all you can't change that other person, right? It doesn't matter how aggravated you are with them. So the only thing you can do is change yourself and change maybe the like the perspective, how you're looking at it, and understand that I don't know, it's really hard to, I'm on like this seesaw thing with what is a true mirror of what's going on within you and what is just ridiculousness. You know what I mean? Do you guys struggle with that, or am I the only one?
I'm struggling with what to say because there's so many good points and so many ways I could talk about it. But yeah, I've been having things with my ego this week too. And it's funny, you say how we think, oh, we get to this state and we're like getting more enlightened and all this stuff, and then something just knocks you over and you're like, well, I'm definitely not apparently over that yet. It showed its ugly head again. But this week I was noticing places, mostly in regards to relationships, where I have grown a lot and like old patterns have fallen away, and I'm like, ooh, so proud of myself. But then these little old creepy ones creep in, and I'm like, no, not again. And it's like how you were feeling, Samantha. It's like it's like this loop. It just keeps going around and around in the mind, and it's like driving us nuts, driving you nuts. And it reminded me of Neville Goddard, and I saw this shift things in my week when I was getting into that place where I couldn't get out of my mind, where you can revise situations in the past and make them how you would want them to be, like envision what you would have said differently, or what that other person may have said differently, or how you would have behaved or acted differently, and try to focus on that rather than badgering yourself or for your ego being in the way. Just revise it. And I've noticed when I have started revising things that I'll get a phone call all of a sudden from somebody that I wanted to hear from, or something just shifts, and I'm like, like I don't know if that would have happened if I didn't revise or not, but I'm liking to believe that taking that time to revise the things in my past that's come up and bother me, that they shift, and they shift the present, and pretty quickly. I've been amazed at actually 2 or 3 times that I revised this week where almost immediately there's been a change. So definitely revision is awesome.
Oh, I completely forgot about that lesson, Sandy, and oh, what a good reminder, because it's funny, we tend to do that in automatically. That's what that loop that's going on in our head is. Only instead of revising it in a positive way, we're revising it in our mind of, oh, I should have said this, or I should have done that, and I should have been more about that. And that's what causes us that turmoil, is that, oh, dang it, I should have gave her another jab this way, or done another thing that way, or I should go and, I don't know, go burn her house down or whatever, things that go through your head, and that makes perfect sense. I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me about that, Sandy. I'm going to do that here, when it pops up in my head again and starts annoying me. I'm going to revise it as to what I wish would have happened, and oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Wonder what happened with Jason. He kind of jumped on and then fell off again. Oh, Karen has a comment that she wrote. Let me jump over there and read it real quick. Okay, so Karen says, "Morning, morning. Our egos want to be recognized. It's a part of what the ego wants. The ego is not a bad thing. It wants to protect us, but we have to keep it in check, because when the ego gets out of control, then we end up in a place of bragging, boasting, or self-righteousness." And she says, like, can you see me now? I'm thinking that she's saying that from the ego's perspective, and you're right, absolutely. And I think that's what it comes to, is that whole that self-righteousness thing is what was going on with me this week. Of, I'm the one that knows better, and you're the idiot. And that's the attitude that I kept having. And but it's funny, because there was one little thing I was trying to. I wasn't doing very well at it, but I was trying, in kind of the little side area of my mind, trying to put myself in her shoes and imagine what that situation looked like to her. I didn't accomplish that, because I kept getting annoyed by the whole situation, but I did think about it. And, and when you were saying, Sandy, I mean, about, we think we do all this work and it doesn't, and then we have something that wakes us up and realize it, but the truth is I did see a difference in that whole confrontation of different now than what it would have been a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, it probably would have escalated even worse than what it was. But instead, once I realized that there was no reasoning with the woman, I walked away. And I drug my husband with me, because he was getting pretty upset too. I'm like, she's being unreasonable, and you can't talk to her, so what's the point? All we're doing is making the situation worse, and in that situation. But if it had been a couple years ago, it would have gotten a lot uglier, and who knows? I mean, somebody might have gotten hauled off to jail for all but so the work does help. I think it does a lot, and just recognizing that, okay, here we are. This is a situation that happened. My ego is obviously very well intact in this area, and it's something I need to work on. And if this hadn't happened and we didn't have this conversation right here, then I wouldn't have been reminded of the revising it in a positive way, like what Sandy just said, and then I can work on that from here. And yeah, I mean, just the fact that we do this work helps us to recognize these different things in our lives, and we can change because we're changing our thought processes about them, just like the title of this book, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, and that's absolutely true. So I am so thankful that I can, have this discussion with you guys and share my experiences and share what I learned, and you guys share what you learn, and then we all are able to grow together and become a better version of ourselves. So it's wonderful. But welcome, Jason. Glad to see that you were able to jump back on. Were you having some PC problems there?
Yeah, hey, had a little technical difficulty this morning with Google, but great to be here, and happy to be part of the discussion this morning on the 24th verse. Is that what? The 24th verse of the Tao Te Ching. I always have a hard time pronouncing it that way with the Tao, or the Tao Te Ching or Tao Te Ching. I'm not sure how it is. I always pronounced it Tao, so with the T, like. But anyhow, this is interesting. I liked what you said about it. I was also reading in the on the website, the mindsetmasterycollective.com. I was reading what you were saying there and was kind of going through it. It's been so busy for me. I don't know if any of you have been so busy as I have this last week too, but I haven't even had a chance to shave this morning, so all week. But so yeah, I was hearing what you were saying. I think I caught the kind of the tail end of that, Samantha, where it sounded like you were flipping things around, putting a positive spin on things. Was that right? A little bit, maybe.
Yeah, well, we all kind of experienced a situation this week where we recognized our ego at play in some tense confrontations kind of situations, and Sandy mentioned a lesson that she learned from Neville Goddard about revising what we keep replaying in our mind in a positive way versus in a negative way, which is what I was doing. I was replaying it in my mind and going, oh, I should have said this or I should have said that in a more aggressive, me dominating the situation versus revising in a positive way to work on it. So I was thankful that Sandy reminded me of that. Have you had anything happen in the past couple of weeks, Jason, where you recognize your ego was playing a part and it, wasn't helping the situation?
Yeah, kind of. I think it sort of slips in there unexpectedly, and it's really kind of hard to pin down the ego. It'd be great to have an expert on it, because I mean, the definitions between the I and the ego and all that philosophical stuff, sort of, it's philosophical, so it's always up for interpretation. And we're trying to pin down something that is a part of us and part of our own, every person's own mind, but we have no idea how the mind actually works, really. So um, it's I'd noticed, like, I guess I could call it the ego sometimes, when you have, like, for instance, I had to put up some fencing around my yard this earlier this week, or over the weekend actually, and we had some extra fencing that was left over that we could have used to fill up or fix some other fencing. Just put completely replace it. And I was working with my brother, and he actually took apart all the ones that we could have used, and I realized that there was no point in me bringing it up that we could have used them. And for some reason, and I even thought about it before I even said anything, and I decided not to say anything about it. But then, like 30, 40 minutes later, it popped in my head again, and I just had to mention something about it. And it was no, there could be no outcome. It was more towards, it was like my ego was saying, "See what you did? You can't do this anymore." And it was like, and I really didn't have that, like, any, I don't know, animosity or any ill feeling towards it, but it was something. It was like it had to be said. It was really weird. And I don't like that part of the ego. I don't. It's but I'm more aware of it now, and I can at least change things with it. So it's very interesting, because, like you said, the more you can discuss this and get a different view of what these things might be and how you can recognize them, the more, actually, what I like to think is, the more they pop up in your every day, the more you recognize them, obviously. Then I even try to flip that around and say, okay, well, all of those are opportunities for me to change them, rather than getting overwhelmed and be like, oh my gosh, I'm doing all these different things. It's like, okay, every one of these is an opportunity for me to reinforce the positive flip of it. When we were talking in that last book about what to say when you think to yourself, they really gave a pretty good plan for making some changes and for understanding, I think, the ego and what plays a role in that. And I think just like what my example is, I think that's more of, at least in my instance there's more of a habit that I have to correct. And if I don't come up against it often enough, then I can't really correct that habit. So I kind of look at those times when I do end up having to confront my ego as an opportunity. But yeah, it's funny how it just pops up like that. How about you? I didn't even get a chance to say hello to everybody. My gosh. Hey, Sandy. Hey, Catherine. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I think that was a good point you made, Samantha. Before that, with the my mind is blank all of a sudden. Good morning, Jason. Wow, it flew out of my head. Oh, that, we do all this work and stuff, and then these things come to sometimes sideswipe us, but that, yeah, we see the changes. We may have maybe run off with our ego full force in the past, and now we catch it sooner, or we deal in a little bit of a different way, or we become aware of what we're doing sooner than we may have in the past. So there's definitely always improvement when these things do come up. And sometimes I think the more work we do on ourselves, the more we get crazy, because we see it so clearly and we're like, ah! And back when we weren't maybe doing work on ourselves, we're just sort of like going off with our ego, like, la la, whatever, blah, blah, and, like looking at least for me in the past, when I wasn't doing self-improvement kind of work, I would, just whatever, and I wouldn't notice things, and who knows what damage I could have done to other people, because I, would fly off the cuff or whatever and cause problems and not be really aware of it. So I think sometimes our conscious is even more upset or whatever, because we are more aware of it the more work we're doing, and get more frustrated. Like, how can I change this? How can I fix this? So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I think that it becomes, I think it's so much of a habit, some of the things that we do, that we start to think that that's who we are. I've heard people say that. Have you ever heard people say that? Well, that's just how I am. And it's almost as if they're saying they can't change, And I can understand that, say, well, that's how I am, but I can change. If I can recognize it and I can catch myself, then I can start a changing process. But it does take the time, and so we do have to be patient with ourselves. And it's not easy. Sometimes it's tough to dig into it. It is. What's going on over there, Catherine? She's hiding behind her picture.
Did we lose you, Catherine? I saw you fall off and jump back on. I saw your comment about losing internet. Nope, she lost it again. She must be having a connection problem. But yeah, that was. I love how you brought up the issue with the fence and your brother, Jason. I have the same thing happens with me and my husband. I'll see something that he did or he said or he whatever, and I will have this thing come up in my head that is like, oh, you should have done this, or you should have done that, or blah blah blah, and I'll recognize that that's just me, or my ego trying to put its word in edgewise or whatever, and a lot of times I will let it go, but then there'll be other things, just silly little things, that I can't stop myself from saying something about it. It's just the silliest stuff. And like you said, there's no purpose for saying it. It was in the past. It was something that already happened. There's not any changing it. It's nothing. But for whatever reason, that little niggly part of your ego just has to be seen, has to be heard, has to jump out there and put its little 2 cents in, regardless of whether it's useful or not. But yeah,
Exactly.
It happens with me and my husband a lot, just because I just can't stop myself. It's like I want a drop cake, just to put duct tape over my mouth to keep myself from saying anything sometimes, because I don't feel like I really have control over that aspect of me a lot of the times. But at least I'm recognizing it, like you said, and
Right.
and I feel for the people who say, well, that's just how I am, you know, they don't recognize that they can do anything about it, or they just flat don't want to. They just they use that as a cop out of, this is how I am, and so I'm just going to keep on being this way, and I don't care what you think, you know. And like Sandy was saying, is before she started doing work, is who knows what damage she did, you know. And it's the same thing with all of us, you know. I don't even know all of the issues that I caused with other people in my life, and you know, in situations, just because I didn't recognize what I was doing. And but now we know, you know, just like that whole ripple effect, right? You know, I mean, littlest things can make the biggest difference in someone else's life or many people's lives, and it can go either way. You can cause negativity to happen in the world, or you can cause positiveness in the world, and that actually kind of leads us into the other aspect of this discussion of giving without expectation, and gratitude, and generosity, because when we recognize that every little thing that we do has an effect on someone else, regardless of what it is that we're doing. So if we're being negative or aggressive or self-righteous or egotistical or whatever, those things have an effect on people. And if we are having gratitude for another person, or we're having generosity towards another person, or we are being positive and happy towards another person, that affects them as well, right?
Yeah,
so
you know, to just expand on that example of the fence, you know, and what you just said there, you know, a positive way I could have put a spin on that is to catch myself and then say, hey, look, saying something like that or reacting that way isn't going to serve me, and then also, you know, inquiring, asking, you know, I've been realizing that I'm not the best communicator in the world. Lately, I've really figured that out, and that I just don't take the time to ask the questions. Or sometimes I always kind of, I don't know, I kind of figure them out on my own. But it's so much better to ask the question. So if I could have instead said, "Hey, you did this," and say, instead of saying, "Hey, you did this," say, "Hey, that's cool. What are you doing there?" And then get his opinion as to what he was preparing for. Because really what it came down to is we were both trying to do the same thing. My idea was to take the whole fence and just replace it. He had pulled it all apart so he could rebuild the fence that was up there. And so when I understood that later, and I understood that just from, I never ended up asking about it, but from from what he ended up finally doing, I realized that that's what he was doing, and we were actually trying to do the same thing but different ways. And so not only was my reaction incorrect, but it also, you know, caused, you know, maybe a little bit of a rift for a few, you know, moments, you know, because he didn't understand what I was trying to do. He probably thought I was being judgmental, but really I was trying to just figure things out. And I had a certain way of doing it, but he also had a good way of doing it, and he was willing to put in the work to do it. I was thinking, you just take this one piece and set it in there, you know, the two of us set it in there, nail it up, we're good. But he was thinking, well, I can pull it apart, take the good pieces, and make a really good, strong piece of fence out of it. And he was willing to put the work in. So, you know, I just wasn't coming from that angle, that mindset. So, you know, it's interesting though that, you know, when you do take the moment to recognize these things, you do have that opportunity to change. And this is great being able to mastermind with you guys. It's so good to see you. I've been missing these past couple of weekends. Keep getting called in last minute moments. It's good to be here.
I think that was a good point, Jason. Like the ego can make assumptions based on what we know and our experience and our beliefs and this. So we assume that the other person must obviously understand what I'm seeing and thinking and feeling, and how it is important to ask questions, because I'm tended to be the same way, where I sort of just, you know, observe and not usually ask a lot of questions. And I find this week too, with the ego stuff that was coming up, like I was just making these stupid assumptions based on past experiences, and it's like, I'm watching these assumptions fly through my head, like, well, where did that come from? That's not even true. Like, why are you making this assumption that's probably 99% false, you know? So it's like our ego is playing off of our experiences and projecting it onto other people, and then and it can cause problems. So yeah, I think it's important to ask questions from a genuine place, not like a berating place or this or that or assumption kind of place, but just generally wanting to know someone else's viewpoint or opinion on something, and then makes more harmoniously. So definitely something I need to practice more too. Good point.
Awesome. Hey, Catherine. Glad you made it back on.
Thank you.
Did you get the authentication error as well? Maybe she left. Maybe she's.
Yeah, I think she's having internet connection issues.
I don't know what the heck is going on.
A lot going on. I can't tell if she's moving or not.
Yeah, I think that
looks frozen.
Yeah, she looks frozen. Maybe if you just mute your camera and then just do audio, maybe we can. I don't know. Maybe you got slow bandwidth or something. If you can even hear us.
I can hear and see you guys fine.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it looks like your picture or your video might be frozen, and we can hear you a little bit.
Anybody's lower third working either? Get that lower third.
Yeah, I turned mine off today, and for a second I thought it was just going to be me and Catherine chatting away, and so I turned off the lower third. I don't know, just a casual thing, I guess. But okay, so let's talk about the other side of the coin, the giving without expectation, and I feel like when we talk about that kind of the effect that we can have on other people, whether it's good or whether it's bad, is that kind of plays into that giving without expectation. And of course, we can give by just being positive towards other people, or we can give by doing things for other people, or for actually donating, or there's all those different aspects of it. One of the things that comes up for me a lot is just little things where I'll just be walking through a parking lot and there'll be some kind of piece of trash on the ground, or there'll be a piece of trash in a cart or something like that, and instead of just ignoring that piece and going, oh, that's someone else's job, is that, yeah, pick it up and put it in the trash. I feel like, that whole attitude is an attitude of teamwork, and we are all one, and and that sort of thing, where we all work together to make the world a better place. And it's little things that go supposedly unnoticed, but yet I think that it's that energy that we put out into the world is what can be expanded and brought back to us. What do you guys think about that? The giving without expectation, and how can we apply that in our lives more?
Well, I think when you're giving without expectations, or even with expectations, there's a lot of ways to do that. But if we're thinking of just giving, doing a kind act, like cleaning up someone's mess or something like that, just for the fact that we want the place to look clean, and like you said, it's a team effort. That's one way to kind of give back, and you're kind of hoping at a level that people will see it and follow suit, right? It's not necessarily for an ego, but it's to kind of show you're willing for teamwork. I guess I'm trying to make distinctions between different types of positive things you can do. I mean, you can always just say something to someone, you know, um, like for if I go back to my example, I could have just said, after asking my brother about what he was doing, I could have, no matter what he said, I could have just said, wow, that sounds good. You know, it sounds really like he thought that through. Or, you know, usually you'll find a reason, you know, like you said, I think Sandy said it comes from, as long as it comes from the heart, the questions and the response. So I think just being willing sometimes to be positive and to say, you know, to contribute in a positive way really makes a huge difference. I mean, even if it's just when you're walking into a room and starting to smile at people and getting kind of that smile thing going around, where, you know, smiles are contagious. You know, we really do have an effect on our environment, especially people. And I think where I was going with at the beginning of this rant is that I think we can probably have the most effect directly with people and actually communicating with them rather than showing them, you know, by picking up trash or doing a good deed, or, you know, because I think people are really, I don't know, they're going through their own life and they're kind of oblivious to what's going on outside of their blinders, so to speak. You know, we're not all willing to look at our egos and take note and dig into that and admit to some of the things we do. You know, so for those people, it's hard for them to even see. You know, but you can start helping them see it by maybe directly communicating with them. But it is also good to, you know, I used to always pick up trash. You know, whenever I saw something that was not out of place, like everything looked immaculate, but there'd be this one piece of trash, and everybody's walking by it. And you're like, really? Come on, it's not my piece of trash, but okay, I'll pick it up, and, you know. But then I also, you know, after doing that for so many years, I realized, you know what, I reserve the right to not have to pick up that trash as well. You know, because if you're the only one, if it feels like you're the only one doing it, then doesn't that kind of take away or kind of break you down after a while? And you've kind of, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's like asserting a little more control in my life. I've actually not picked things up for people, and become not the person that everyone expects to clean up their mess or finish their job, or, you know, because I mean, in reality, if you're that person that's always, you know, doing that sort of thing, you usually don't get any credit, and you usually just get more work to do. You know, oh, they'll be available. Let's call them. They'll be able to come out and take care of it. So it's like, you know, yeah, I can take care of it, but, you know, I only have so much time in my day like everyone else. Let's all jump in and get involved and be that team like you're talking about, right, Samantha? I'll end my rant now. I don't know if any of that made sense, but
Yeah. You know, I think it's great that you brought all of that up, Jason, because I think that's kind of what this particular chapter is trying to get us to kind of recognize, like that part where it says, let's see here. Notice how the natural flow of the Tao operates. It asks nothing of you as it provides you and everyone else with unlimited supplies of food, air, water, sunshine, land, and beauty. It is always creating for the benefit of all, and it has no need for prideful boasting or demanding something in return. And then, of course, he puts the poem from Hafetz on here. Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me," right? And you know. And I think that when we kind of discuss these different things, we kind of can recognize when we're sitting here and we do some kind of act of kindness or whatever, and then we have this little niggling thing in the back of our mind going, expecting, hoping someone's going to see us doing this happy act of kindness. You know, it's like, you know, and like you were saying at the beginning of when you began talking is, someone's going to recognize it and then follow suit. Like we're setting this example and hoping that other people are going to do the same thing. But yet even that is some level of expectation, right? And I find it interesting that, of course, this verse in this chapter talks about doing these things without expectations, and it's hard because we do have expectations, no matter what it is we're doing, even when we are kind of being selfless in our acts, yet at the same time we have these little things come up in the back of our mind that are going, somebody's going to see me do that, and I'm going to get praised for it, or I'm going to get high-fived or whatever, right? And it's not like it's sitting here telling us it's wrong. It's just kind of helping us recognize when our ego is kind of getting in the way of us being more in line with the Tao, or living more in harmony with nature and that sort of thing. And but it kind of brings up those questions of, like what you were saying, Jason, of, okay, here we keep on doing all these things and nothing ever comes of it other than people keep relying on us more and more and more. And but yet at the same time it talks about the natural way of the Tao and the sunshine and everything, where it just keeps on giving regardless of how much people keep on taking. And it's like, what does that mean for me? Does that mean I have to keep on working so hard until I am, breaking down and my bones are coming through my skin because I've worked my hands to death? I don't know. That's the question, right? It's how do you find that happy balance of giving and not feeling like you're just wearing yourself out in the process? And so I don't know. I guess that's the question. That's what the discussion is about. What do you think, Sandy?
Well, I guess when it's in the Tao mode, it's like going with the flow. Like you're giving from what you can give, not to wear yourself out, because of course we have to take care of ourselves first to be able to give. And then it's interesting because I guess we can feel this way, like we keep giving and giving and giving, and other people aren't joining in. I think because in our society, we grow up a lot of the times thinking that we can give only after we've received. Like, once I receive this amount of money, or once I receive this relationship or this job, then I can start giving. But then that's not the way it works. We have to give in order to receive. And so I think there's so many people that just sit back and, okay, that person's picking up trash over there, they can keep doing that. And like, we almost feel like we're enabling others to sit back and do nothing because, oh, well, we'll take care of it, and you guys don't have to do anything, just sit over there. So it's a good point. And yeah, it's like, what is that balance? But I guess it's just, not giving to the point of where you're harming yourself, but giving, like, if it's just in the flow of your day, like, oh, I'm holding the door for somebody, I said hello, I waved, I smiled at this person, oh, there was a trash there, I picked it up, and just flowing with it rather than forcing to overdo things would be from the ego, like, I have to. But if everybody's just giving in the flow of their daily life, then it would all be harmonious, I guess. Like, everyone just gives in their flow, and it could be something teeny for some person, and it could be this huge mission that somebody else has, but it's all different for everybody, I guess. And when we realize that we are connected, which I think a lot of people don't realize that, but a lot of people do, and so it's hard because people are just so different too. And when you were talking about picking up trash, I was on this beach a couple weeks ago, a couple hours north of Miami. So it was a very quiet beach. There was like hardly anybody around. And off in the distance, I saw this young teenage girl. She was just walking around, walking with her dog and I think her parents. And she was just picking up trash as they walked along, like la la la, with a smile on her face, and it was so cute. And I'm like, oh yeah, good reminder. And so I like start looking around as I'm walking too and picking up trash. So she rubbed off on me. So and reminded me, like, oh, I could be picking up trash while I'm enjoying a walk on the beach too. And yeah, maybe other people are careless and say, oh, somebody else will pick it up, but okay, that's where they're at, but I can continue to do what I want to do and pick it up because that's my form of giving to the connectedness of everything. And maybe someday they'll wake up to say, oh, I left trash on the beach for years, I should start picking more. Maybe they won't, but not to stop giving and not to overdo it either to where you're hurting yourself, I guess. Taking care of yourself too, giving to yourself as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't exhaust yourself over it, but if it comes your way, an opportunity comes your way, then that's your opportunity. It's no one else's opportunity. That's your opportunity to contribute, right? Something like that. Because like be out on the beach and I'll see a piece of glass on the beach and I'm like, oh well, I could have stepped on that, but someone else, if I leave it there, someone else could definitely step on it. So, but I saw it, so why not pick it up? And I think something about back of my conscience would be like, you know what, why did I leave that out there when I just could have picked it up? And but yeah, I mean, I guess we're both the type of people that are like we're like naturalists. We appreciate our environment. We like to see it be kept clean. There are some people out there just don't care. But they may care about other things. They may think that other things are more important, and they can give in those respects. So it can be frustrating to see the beaches get dirty, especially like during major events like the 4th of July or something like that, where everybody's out on the beach. They ever gotten you start seeing the beach collecting all this trash, and then you're like, I want to pick up trash, I want to keep it clean, and then it comes to a point where you're just like, there's just so much trash, they're going to come by with a bulldozer or one of those big front hauler rakes and rake it all up together. So it's almost as if you have to like leave it there so that they can someone else can clean it up. So I guess it's a little bit about knowing, a little bit about giving, but then also being able to receive, maybe to receive the opportunity to let it go and let them clean it up sometimes. I think we're not able to receive. We're so unused to receiving, and we're so used to giving, either through work, an extra effort, or whatever it might be. And then when an opportunity comes along to receive, somebody gives you a compliment, and it sort of bounces off of us rather than taking it in and appreciating the person who said it and all of that. We sort of just like, well, that's because of this, or that's that, we're sort of, we become so, I don't know, for me, like just non-receptive sometimes, because I'm so, I get so focused on the other way of, well, what do I have to do? What do I need to do? What do I want to do? And then something comes your way, and are you open to it? Are you going with the flow? Like you said. I don't know. What do you think?
That reminds me of a friend who posted something on Facebook a few days ago. Like she was just in a space of gratitude for what she had, and being in a position where she can give to others who may need help in some way. And she happened to be in a place, I forget what the task was that she did, but that was one day. And then the next day she wanted to go to this class, and she assumed that pretty much the class would be full, but she felt called to go anyway and go see, okay, if it's full or not. But then on the way to that class, she ended up, there was a blind person in the middle of this, like it's in Manhattan, in New York City, where there was a ton of construction, and the person was like standing there not knowing how to get through the construction, and everybody's walking by, nobody's helping. In that moment, she's like, that's why I was called here. She guided the blind person through the construction to safety. And so she believed that that's why she had this strong feeling to go to the class, even though she knew the class was probably going to be full, so she didn't get to go to the class, but then she was grateful that she got to go sit and have coffee and get some work done after that. And so that was like this beautiful flow when she was just in this space of being of service wherever she felt called to from her gut feeling or intuition. And so I thought that was beautiful. And then the other day I had my own little encounter. I remember there's like a little laundry section on the back of my apartment complex here. And outside this week, one morning when I was throwing a load in, there was a pile of dog poop there. And I'm like, oh. So I'm stepping over it to do the laundry. And I'm like, I don't want to touch it. You know, I never had dogs. I don't touch poop. I don't want to, how do I do this? I have to go find a plastic bag. And I was like, I don't want to touch poop while I'm doing laundry. And all this stupid stuff going through my head. And I'm like, you know, thinking, oh, the next person can take care of it, or somebody will see it and take care of it. Eventually, I'm like, Sandy, just pick it up so that the next person doesn't have to look at it like you do and have this turmoil. So I said, okay, and picked it up and threw it away. And then I felt good, like, okay, yeah, the next person doesn't have to even know that this pile of poop was sitting here while they were doing laundry. So those little things that help the next person. So.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, I like that how you recognize that turmoil that you were experiencing, and you didn't want someone else to have to experience that same turmoil, and that's what helped you to overcome your discomfort of dealing with that situation. That's powerful, and I think that's one of the keys here with this, right? You know, is that you didn't expect that somebody was going to, you know, throw a parade for you since you picked up the poo. You were just doing it so that someone else didn't have to experience that too. I think that's wonderful. But that's awesome, guys. I think we've had a great discussion today, and I think we could probably go on and on about this, but it's close to the top of the hour, and I did want to just recognize a couple of things. It looks like Karen posted on our Google Plus event page, and she said 2 comments. Change your life by consciously choosing to be in a state of gratitude. And then she also said your practice of gratitude helps you focus on the real source of everything. And absolutely, Karen, I think it said something about that in this chapter of that gratitude can be the key to helping you have a happier and more harmonious existence with, you know, everything. Of course, we could talk a whole show on gratitude, but since we're at the top of the hour, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. But do you guys have any final thoughts before we go? Jason? I see your little wheels spinning there.
You know, go out and do something good, and then be open to receiving goodness from other people. You know, be the inspiration that you seek in the world, right? That you're looking for. It can start with you, right? I guess I'll end with that. And I miss the other guys and girls that couldn't show up today.
Yeah.
Can't talk. I've missed a few myself. So.
How about you, Sandy? Any final thoughts?
I was just looking at the Tao for Now, do the Tao for Now section from Wayne Dyer here, and
yeah.
I like this one part of it that he wrote. Do something expressing your kindness to someone who will be totally surprised by your actions. So, yeah, email someone expressing your love, call a grandparent who may be feeling lonely, send flowers to a loved one who's alone or even a stranger. Note how your gratitude for another truly nurtures your Tao path, not that of your ego. So, yeah, let's surprise somebody today. Yay!
Great ideas.
Awesome. Thank you for reading that, Sandy. Okay, guys, have an awesome, amazing, wonderful weekend. If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, share it on Google+, tweet us out, follow us on all those locations as well. And if you'd like to participate with us here live on the panel, then connect with me over on Facebook, Samantha, Studebaker, Carl, You can you know, Google me or just click on my name on Google Plus, and you can find me that way. And we'd love to have you on here to join the conversation. So anyway, with that, we will see you next week. Meet us here again at 10 a.m. Eastern on a Saturday morning mastermind. Bye for now, guys.
Bye-bye.